Welcome to the Heartful Healing Hub podcast. I am Deanne, your host, frequency intuitive and energetic healing guide, here to hold space for transformation through sound, energy, and sacred storytelling. You're listening to Healed and Whole Stories of Remembering, a special series where I sit with women who've walked through deep health challenges and emerged transformed. These are conversations that are sacred, heart to heart, soul to soul, filled with truth, resilience, and the power of coming home to yourself. May these conversations inspire your own inner healer to awaken. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast. Today, I am sitting with Erin, and I'm just really thrilled that you're here. And I'm going to read your bio so that we know exactly who you are. Erin is a transformational coach, podcaster, and author with a passion for personal development and contextual shift. On her podcast, Erin has conversations with people who have overcome a wide variety of challenges and situations that throw so many of us for a loop. They share what helped them and how their mindset and lifestyle shifted in the process. As a coach, Erin works side by side with her clients to help them get clear on what is most important to them so they can live their best, most fulfilling life. That sounds wonderful.
Thanks.
Just the kind of coach that everybody needs.
You know, in the coaching industry, many people think that coaching is telling you what to do.
Yeah.
And that's not the kind of coaching that I do, because really, I'm a firm believer that each of us has the answers that we need within. And I like to be more of a mirror to help people see and recognize their own brilliance and magic so that they can draw that out. I think it leads to a far deeper sense of fulfillment.
Yeah, that's exactly why I like you so much, because we think exactly the same. That's what I do with my clients. I don't even consider myself a coach. I'm just a guide, because I'm just guiding you to remember what your inner voice and what your instinct is right there to tell, waiting for you to be quiet enough to listen to what it has to say. So anyway, I'm going to leave the stage to you. So whatever you are willing to share with us, and you're on.
Oh, perfect. Well, based on the context of the conversation that we had talked about, I was thinking I can share a broader vision of what my journey has been, because I'm born and raised in Florida, and I'm actually living in the neighborhood that I grew up in. I moved
Nice.
back here about a year and a half ago, which in Florida is a very unusual thing. Growing up, my parents divorced really young. All four of my grandparents had passed away by the time I was 8. And so, connection really wasn't a thing that I understood. Like, human relationships weren't something that I had any facility with. And as far as I was concerned, I mean, you're going to die by the time you're 40. Who cares? Just go and do whatever it is you want. When I got into my 20s and I got out of the house, I had this really strong pull toward Eastern philosophies. No idea why. I wasn't really raised with any particular religious philosophy. My parents were agnostic, but they let us go to services with anyone. Like, our neighbor was Presbyterian, my friends were Jewish, didn't matter. So I got smatterings of everything, but I was always pulled toward Buddhism. After several years of reading many books, I was introduced to a Japanese form of Buddhism called Nichiren Buddhism that's based on a mantra, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's been about 26 years ago now. And I started practicing because what really struck me was this idea of personal responsibility, because my life wasn't really working. I felt empty because if you're going to die by the time you're 40 and like nothing is really important, then, who cares? But I found that it was a really lonely life. Because I wanted to be with people, but I could never really get myself close to them. I'm a fantastic listener, and people feel heard around me, but I don't really feel like I had a capacity for sharing. So I started practicing Buddhism, and I got a certain part of the way. And then I found personal development to help me a little bit further along with like the Millionaire Mind Intensive, landmark education, gratitude training, CEO space. And so I started going and learning about this thing called ontology, like the idea of who you're being and how your being really creates the life that you're living. Very much in line with Nichiren Buddhism, also very much in line with the law of attraction. And I got really good at ferreting out my problems. Like, oh, well, it must be because when I was a kid, like, my mom and I didn't get along, or when I was 7, I decided I wasn't smart enough, or, this, that, and the other. And it's like, you give me a formula and I'm going to fill in the blanks. But it still never really led me to that fulfillment that I was looking for. I got really good, like I said, at finding the problems, but there was the other half of the equation in the law of attraction where you're supposed to create what it is you want and what you're going for. I never had the courage to do that because I never believed that it was possible. I was too broken. Like I needed to find the thing that was going to fix me, because I would go to each of these courses and I'd come out of the weekend feeling on fire. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm still there. And so it really got frustrating, because I would make small incremental shifts and changes, and I would see little things change in the context of my universe. It always seemed to fade away, and there was still a piece that I was missing. And I think it was in 2000, 2000, I wrote my book, Hate Your Way to Happiness, because I found a coach who was trained by a company called Accomplishment Coaching, and they really help to discern that ontology. It's less of a formula and more of an experience. And so I didn't have that formula to hide behind anymore. They just kept going, well, this is what you just said. Like, what do you mean by that? What's behind it? And I found myself trying to explain away all of these constructs, all of these little mazes that I would hide in, because like the last thing I wanted to do was to put myself out in the world to be vulnerable. I wanted to fix me before I would show me to anybody, but I wanted to have the friendships, but it was always a one-way exchange. They would be really open and loving. They would see a flash or a spark of who I am at my core, but pretty soon that would go away when the act came out, the show and dance. And so I coached with this woman from Accomplishment Coaching. And there was one day we were talking on the phone. It was like 2 weeks after I'd been shaking my fist at God, screaming profanities, going, you need to tell me what the hell I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Because here I am, in my 50s, clueless. You keep telling me I'm supposed to be teaching and coaching and connecting, and it never seems to work out. Like, crap or get off the pot. Give me something. And within 2 weeks, I was on a call with my coach, and I was complaining about something. And she, in her, just perky, disaffected way, goes, well, why don't you just hate your way to happiness, Erin? And I was like, wait, what? So that became the book that I wrote. And it was really a journey of discovering where it was that I had been stopping. Because every time I started to feel bad, I felt like I was doing it wrong. And it's yeah, like if you have an infected wound, you've got to open it up and clean it out before it will heal. But every time somebody came at me with a scalp, the proverbial scalpel, I would run away. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to see what was hidden behind.
Yeah.
So the book was really the first part of me getting real. It's a journal style book, and I'm just really wrestling with this idea of what does happiness mean and what do I think it looks like? And so a couple of years later, I enrolled in that coach's training program, accomplishment coaching, and I got even deeper behind those walls and started to really see that coaching wasn't me going to somebody to have them tell me what to do. It was, well, let's take a look at that. Let's really dig into this. Let's see what you, how you define success, how you're defining a fulfilling life, how you're engaging with the people around you. What are the things that you think that you're striving for because you're using the language, but you're not living like that word or that idea really means that. We talk about freedom, we talk about authenticity, we talk about vulnerability. Many people talk about transformation. Nobody knows what the hell these words mean because eventually somebody gets a hold of it and twists it to some marketing purpose, to sell another get happy quick scheme, I suppose. And it's like people mean well when they do this, but the challenge is after 2.5 decades of studying Eastern philosophies and understanding many different contexts from the Christian to the Jewish to the universalist to any of these philosophies, what I really came to understand is we're all talking about the same thing, but we're speaking different languages based on where we come from, how we engage, and it can be really hard to try to create a relationship or develop any sort of familiarity or connection if we're arguing about terms when we're basically saying the same thing. And so I think it's super important personally to come to an understanding of what I think and how I feel and who I am at my core before I can go out and really judge or assess anyone. And then at that stage, it's about getting curious. Like, okay, so I had a conversation with a Buddhist friend of mine a couple of weeks back, and we were having almost a disagreement because she was talking about her experience and she didn't think that I was getting her. And she said, well, I don't think you're being very compassionate right now. And compassion is a big thing in Buddhism. And I said, okay, great. So how do you define compassion? And she was like, oh my gosh, how can you call yourself a Buddhist? And I was like, no, really. Let's talk about how you define compassion.
Yeah.
Let's compare notes. We've read this word in these books that we read, but maybe we're understanding it from a different paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, long and the short of it is that really has defined a large part of my journey. And then to add, I'm going to say it this way, and I know, don't take it the wrong way, to add insult to injury, I was diagnosed with ADHD 4 years ago. Like I'm 59. So all of a sudden, all of the distractedness makes sense. And I have a little bit of autism thrown in there. And so some of the ways that my brain functions adds new layers to not wanting to get connected, or, feeling rejected, or so many different aspects. And so I feel like as I get older, as I really go on this treasure hunt, as I'm starting to see it now, I'm seeing the beauty of all of the different aspects of me, because instead of running away from the dragon that I didn't understand, now I get to play knowing a little bit more about who I am and how I work. And it's so much more joyful to be connecting with amazing people who are out to create similar things. Like, I have a podcast that's not the same, but in a similar vein to this. And like we were talking about previously, I love having these conversations and just asking people, like, who are you? What makes you tick? Why do you think the way you do? It's so easy to judge somebody based on things we don't understand, but when we take a couple of steps back and start to ask questions, then we find that people are really amazing and life can be really beautiful.
Yeah, oh no, you're absolutely right. And it's the curiosity that is like, if you don't understand something, or you're not sure, like you said, the definition, like compassion, yeah, you go to the dictionary and it has, this is what it means. But our interpretation of it may be slightly different. And then, being curious enough to go and ask, okay, what is exactly your definition of blah blah blah? So, and to understand each other, and just like I said, curiosity is absolutely, crucial, and to understand and other people and ourselves in the process too, because you're thinking, okay, like I'm this way, I'm that way, but oh, maybe not. Like you're thinking, well, I'm compassionate, but if you compare it to other people, what it means, well, yeah, maybe I am, but maybe I, in a different way than other people. So no, absolutely. That's
One of the most beautiful outcomes of the conversation that I'd had with this young woman, she was really struggling with a personal situation that felt insurmountable. And because I asked her that question, because I didn't let her off the hook, because I didn't enable her to stay in a victim mode, because I was pushing back against what she was declaring as her handicap, she called me not compassionate. And I asked her, like, how do you define compassion? When I saw her 3 weeks later, she was on the path to resolving the issue powerfully, in a way that she would not have taken on if I hadn't had the courage and the curiosity to ask those questions. And so I think what we mistake for compassion becomes enabling if you're dealing with someone with a drug addiction or a gambling problem, or if someone is in a relationship where they're being harmed by someone else. We're not doing anyone a favor by ignoring these things.
yeah.
At the same time, I don't walk in your shoes, and so I don't know what's so for you. So going in and trying to strong arm somebody into seeing the error of their ways, I think can be damaging. Um, a little curiosity and deep-seated compassion, like being truly a stand for someone's greatness, it's magic.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's as you said, like trying to, because we can't, if someone doesn't want to change or doesn't want to see the truth, you can tell them whatever you want, or this is what's happening here. That's happened to many people I know, very close family members as well. It's like, well, I respect you, I love you, I'm seeing what's going on here. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm here. And I'm, if you need to fall back, or if you need a soundboard, I'm here. So little by little, and it has to be of their own free will, because that's one thing that we as human beings we are given is our free will, so we can make the good decisions or the bad decisions. But yes.
100%. And what comes to mind is so many people misunderstand the idea of karma, because
Mm-hmm.
people think of karma as fate. It's like written on a stone tablet someplace. This is the direction that my life is going. It comes from lifetimes in the past, and I can't do anything to change it. And that is absolutely false. Karma is a habit. Yes, there is an energetic momentum that may come from lifetimes ago based on, Buddhist teachings. The truth of the matter is all of your power exists in this very moment. What I choose from now determines the direction that I move forward. And, you know, that idea of like a 1% change will create a major shift over time.
Yeah.
That is the truth of karma. If I
Mm-hmm.
keep doing what I'm doing without ever questioning, without seeking, then I will continue on the path. And I already know how that story ends because I see where I am now.
Yeah.
If I hope for anything different, I must get curious about my own life and start to take a look. Well, I keep dating the same person. I keep staying at the same weight. My bank account always is empty. Like whatever your Groundhog Day problem is, consider you are the common denominator and only
Mm-hmm.
you hold the key to be able to release you from this prison, but only if you're willing to ask those questions. And there's I think it's a book called Radical Honesty that's really powerful, because like to be radically honest, to really acknowledge when lying to other people isn't a great thing, but one of the worst things that we do is lying to ourselves. It destroys trust within us,
Yep.
but it's part of that handicap. It's where our foot's nailed to the floor. We begin thinking that we're broken. We're thinking that it's not possible for me because I am. Change those I am statements. Find a way to shift. And it's not as easy as just saying it, because, like the iceberg, 5% is above the water and 95% is below. Your subconscious has a lot of tapes running. So you've got to be really active about regenerating and creating that future that you want.
Yeah, you are totally speaking my language. This is absolutely what I've been saying for a long time. It's like, like what we say to ourselves, um, even out loud or in words, it truly affects everything in our life. And even if, like you said, the 1% change, like if you don't, let's say you have, I don't know, like when I had cancer, for example, I never said I have cancer. It was always something that I was dealing with at the time. I didn't identify to that. So if you're wanting to change your future and what's coming and your surrounding, change the way you speak.
Yes.
Like I don't know, like anything positive other than, just a little bit at a time. And just, instead of saying, oh, I'm always broke, well, just change that little tweak a bit, like, and it makes a huge, huge difference.
It really does. And I think what you're pointing to is really important, because I could hear the hesitation in how you were going to phrase it. You don't want to say, I don't have cancer, because that's not true. And that's BS.
Yeah.
At the same time, you don't want to say, I have cancer and declare it like this is. So find ways to be able to acknowledge the direction that you want to move in, where you feel like it lands right on your heart. and you can say it with confidence, and it's moving you in the direction that you want to go. Super important. And I think that all of us are looking for the winning lottery ticket. We're all looking for the big hit. And what is it? The overnight success takes like 5 to 10 years, truly, at the end of the day.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
It's amazing what people see. Oh, you're so lucky this happened, but you don't know what's been happening for the last 5, 10 years, or even our entire life could be building up to this, 1 year that everything is just, coming together. So, but you don't know what my life was like 5, 10 years before, or 15 or 20 or 30. So
yes, 100%, 100% spot on.
All right. So through like what you've been through so far, like you sounds like you've been studying a lot of the same things that I've been, like, although I've not gone into the religion aspect of it, but like, what's your experience been doing that, like the Buddhism, and because it's like, this is one thing that I find really fascinating, that all these different aspects and thoughts. And
one of my core philosophies, one of the ways that I manage like the ADHD and the curiosity that takes me down all of these amazing paths, I like to say that I have this idea that my belief structure is like a stool, and there are 3 legs to the stool. At any one given time, there are 3 schools or philosophies that I am interested in reading about, following, taking courses from. And so, when I can be practicing Nichiren Buddhism, chanting, studying, going to meetings, and I'm doing Landmark, and I'm also going to CEO space. And I find the common thread with whatever those 3 are. 2 reasons. One, because having like-minded philosophies shores up the other things that I'm studying. But 2, it also calls me out on my BS, because so many of us like to cherry pick when we pick a philosophy. Like, a lot of people think, oh, well, I would practice Christianity except for, or Buddhism except for. I would love to be a vegan, but I love burgers. It's like, you can't pick a school or a thought and then only choose the parts that you want, because you might be actually missing the grit that's going to be rubbing off the nasty bits that you really need to deal with. But at the same time, I don't want to be so immersed in just one school of thought that it becomes cult-like. Because one of the common denominators for most of the things that I study is people are so flippin' happy that the friends and family will go, it's a cult. You can't possibly be that happy all the time. Well, I can see what you're saying, and I can appreciate that there are people who take advantage, but that's one of the advantages of having this idea of using a stool. Because if Buddhism is saying it, and Landmark is saying it, and this other person over here is saying it, and I'm getting results, if you want to call it a cult, that's fine, but it's pretty much you're more committed to your misery than you are to actually really doing the work. So that's one of those aspects that I use. And I will change out legs of the stool regularly. Like, I haven't done Landmark in years. It could be accomplishment coaching that I'm working with. It could be law of attraction that I'm watching videos for. It could be books that I'm reading. I'm always getting curious for ways to grow and evolve. I will never stay stagnant, because there's always more to understand. This is something I'm actually writing an article for my Substack on it right now. there is no end to the journey. That's kind of like saying, I'm going to go on vacation and I know I'm going to be really excited to get home. So I'm just going to stay home. No, there's a point to the vacation. You want to go, you want to relax, you want to have the experience. The point between the time that you're born and the time that you die is the experience. You don't want to just rush to death and like, ta-da. It also, like, when we're so focused on the goal, then we miss the beauty and the magic of the experience. And the experience is where all the lessons come from. It might suck much of the time because we don't understand what we're growing through. But have you ever had that experience where you're going through something you don't understand, and a couple of years later you go, that's why that happened?
Oh, yeah.
So trust the universe. I think there's a quote that I have often said it's attributed to Einstein, but there are some people who say it wasn't him. So if you know where it comes from, dear listener, let us know. But I will say that Einstein said that one of the most important decisions that you can make in your life is whether you believe that the universe is a friendly place or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because that will set the tone for everything.
For your whole experience on this earth plane. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's whatever it is you decide. Like when I look at life, for me, it's an adventure. I mean, I read so many people say, oh, life sucks or life is hard and life is this. And I'm like, no, it's not, but not from my point of view. Yes, there's ups and downs. And yes, there's because sometimes there are more downs than ups, but it's an adventure. And, like anyway, like I said, this is the way I look at it, because there's so many beautiful things that you can be grateful for. And so much beauty around the world. I mean, I live in British Columbia. I look around, I'm surrounded by greenery, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And there's the ocean and the mountains, and there's so many beautiful places just here on our planet. And there's so many wonderful people, amazing people. I mean, you're one of them, and I'm grateful that I've come across you, and we're getting to know each other. So it's like there's so many things you can be grateful for. But if you go around and say, oh, life sucks, and it's so hard, and this and that, and it's like, of course, this is the energy that you're putting out there. This is the life is, and I can't remember. There's a quote attached to this, but you get back, like life is out there to prove that you're right. So if you say life is hard, then yeah, it's going to look for things to say, yeah, you're right, life is hard. But yeah, anyway,
you are declaring that experience. There's a reason why when we say, like, isn't it funny that when you create words, it's called spelling?
Yeah.
It's like you're casting spells with your words.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of the Bible, in the beginning, there was the word. Like, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in Buddhism. It's how we think and how we speak and how we act. Because when those three are in alignment, that's when you're most powerful. But if your thinking is going in one direction and your words are going in another, Nichiren says a mind at cross purposes can achieve nothing remarkable. Your energy is being split in too many different directions. When all of the rockets are firing in the same direction, that's when the magic happens. And sometimes it takes a while to figure that out because the world isn't necessarily tooled that way. I think it's something that people are talking about more and more.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of naysayers for whatever reason, and that's part of the matrix. That's part of the fun of learning. Call me a blithering idiot. Like,
no,
ignorance is bliss. Like, what? Great. I'm too happy for you. Okay. Let me know how your life is going.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, just everything you're saying is just resonating so much with me. So yeah, no wonder I love you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. Like I love the mission that you're on and what you're up to, and I really appreciate that you are another light out there sharing your light and your wisdom and helping to light the path for so many others.
Well, again, and I've mentioned that to you before. Raising the vibration of the universe is good for everybody. I'm not doing it for myself. I mean, yes, it's wonderful to be talking with you and all the wonderful ladies that I've been talking with, and looking forward to talking to more. But it's more because, like, if it makes me happy and it makes you happy, then it's like and I've said this many times also. It's like we're little pebbles in the vast universe that are spreading, like love and joy and happiness, and just so it'll reach other people even if they don't know it. So
You never know whose life you're going to change. A year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I was going to the airport to go to a meditation retreat. And I took an Uber, and the Uber driver wanted to talk politics and tariffs. And I'm like, dude, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I am not an economist. Pick a different topic. So we started talking about spirituality and stuff. And eventually I told him about my podcast. In 4 months, he listened to all 40 episodes. And when I called him to go back to the airport 4 months later, he completely changed his life and was asking me, where are more? Like, I
oh my
want,
word,
you
that is
never
beautiful.
know
That
who is
is
out there listening.
beautiful. That's amazing. I mean, talk about a story of your little pebble and all the ripples, how it rippled out. That's absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. That's fantastic.
So keep going.
Yeah. I mean, as I said earlier before we started, I mean, I'm just loving this experience of talking. It's addicting to me. I'm just, sharing and talking to wonderful ladies, and it's just, yeah, it's becoming addicting. I'm absolutely loving it. So spreading the word, spreading the love, spreading the hope, spreading the joy. So yes.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Any last words of wisdom, madam? I know you've given us a lot, but
Um, make friends with your dragon.
hmm
Like, he or she just wants that love and attention.
very true. Yeah, very true. Thank you. I don't want it to end. It's been so beautiful. Um, anyway, all your social media and links are going to be in the show notes, as you well know, because you're a podcaster yourself. So, and I am so, so grateful that you've taken the time to come in and talk with me today.
My
And
pleasure. Thank you for having me. Really.
oh, it's been a pleasure. It's been a joy to have you here. So believe me, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you for spending time with us inside the Heartful Healing Hub. If this story moved you, please consider sharing this episode or leaving a comment. Your words help others find this sacred space. If you or someone you love has a healing journey to share, we'd love to hear from you. And finally, if you would enjoy a gentle way to unwind after listening, visit the show notes to download your free tea ritual guide, Sip and Soften, a soul-soothing gift to nourish your inner healer. Until next time, be kind to yourself and trust what has always been within you. And remember, you are whole, you are healing, you are home.